G'day, fuck givers. Put the tea down. It's going down. How did that intro start? Really auto. Woo! Sorry, Billy. So, last night, I met a bunch of you legends at the fuck giving extravaganza. So much froth exchanged. And I just want to say thanks to the guys, Sarah and Alice, for hosting us, and the rest of you legends who ran around and made it such an epic night. And everyone who came, actually. So many good connections, so much froth. I was supposed to give a bit of a workshop last night, but me and Sarah thought, you know, there was quite a few good conversations going on. It just didn't feel appropriate at that late time of night to interject with my Finding the Frothers workshop. So I thought, fuck it, this Sunday I'm not doing anything. I'm going to light a fire, get my onesie suit, honour of Sarah. Probably won't wear it like this because if you don't believe me, check it out. Probably highly flammable, so just, yeah. Anyway, if you guys are keen, I'll let you in on my Finding the Frothers theory, and essentially what I was going to go through last night and help you guys consolidate some frothers, find some new frothers. But you're probably saying, like, what the fuck is the frother, Benny? What are you waffling on about? Now, my idea about frothing is that you meet frothers and they're operating at about the same frequency as you or higher frequency. And when you go and hang out with them for like 10, 15 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes, depending on how powerful the froth levels are, it allows you to run at your day really fucking hard, or any activity that you want to do a lot harder than you potentially would. And I find this particularly powerful because my routine in the morning is get up, do something for myself and just myself, try and connect with a frother over coffee, which is sick. I live in Bondi, there's a lot of frothers about. And then I go into my day of work. Now everyone has their own theories about how they get into it, but for me, like, coming away from a conversation is so super powerful. And I think you can channel new energy into your life through connectivity and community. So you guys have probably got a bit of like the residue froth from last night kicking into your Sunday, which is super powerful. What do? Why do I talk about froth? So I run a smart drinking community called 101 Tokens, and that involves bringing a lot of people like Sarah into my community of smart drinkers, I guess. So we don't preach. We actually really enjoy boozing. You might have seen me tipping a few in. Those 4 pints last night, delicious. But what we try and do is it's not just about guiding people on how to be better drinkers. It's about bringing other expertise into the fray. So we bring people like Sarah in to talk about purpose. We bring people like Kate, who's a mermaid, to talk about plastic free, which is coming up. Our other mate, he's talking about gut health. We've got a runner. We've got a fucking mixologist. So we talk about conscious cocktails and stuff like that. So that is what I do. And so I, as a frother, need to bring other frothers into my froth circle so we can froth out and have a froth-a-thon. Hope that makes sense, if I haven't lost you already. Anyway, let's crack on with a bit more about it. So in the 1300s, the term froth was actually used for frivolity, fluff, and nonsense. So I say bullshit to the 1300s. Let's go straight to modern day Urban Dictionary, which is to be fully amped. And this is what fuck giving is as well. Being fully amped about doing something positive for someone else or the planet. And that's why I fucking love it, and that's why we all resonate, because we were all frothing last night, and that is froth for me. So basically, we're contributing to a shift in a collective mindset by association with words, which I will flick back into my other part. Sorry, I hacked this together on the ferry yesterday, so it's like a bit of frothing out. So yeah, shifting collective mindset by association with words. So a little bit of trivia. In 2017, on point, snowflake, and gender fluid were terms that became part of our lexicon. And they weren't necessarily new words. I was just jamming a couple new ones together and creating like vibe around it and new meaning. In 2018, they reckon basic, woke, and some other word which I've written down, which I can't read now, are going to be the words of 2018. Well, bullshit to that. Frothing's going to be up there. So if certain words put you off, I always caveat with this as well. Some people really freak out about froth. It means some different things in certain parts of Canada which are closer linked to female orgasm. So if I say, let's go and I really want to meet you because I think you're a frother, to a certain girl in Canada, she has a look on her face which isn't conducive to the frothing I'm talking about, if that makes sense. So anyway, if frothing isn't your vibe, I would implore you to at least talk to the people that you think are frothers and just call them people who are loving life. Fuck givers. They're fuck givers, right? They're just frothers. It's another word. So anyway, why I want to talk about words is because I love words. I'm a copywriter, and I think they're amazing. Irfan, who was there last night, try and hear that dude talk like horry shit, like amazing poet. So yeah, Terence McKenna, also a frother, said the syntactical nature of reality, the real secret of magic, is that the world is made of words, and if you know the words that the world is made of, you can make it whatever you wish. Powerful stuff. And Jason Silver follows on with this, who's also a massive frother. Take responsibility for this metaphysical tool. Employ language with discernment, intention, and agency, and become an author of reality. Sick, because we can all become the authors of our own reality. And I believe if we change our words, fuck giving, then we can change the world. So, let me just flick back again. This is my little Frankenstein presentation. Sorry. And we'll get there in the end. Imagine if I'd had a few tins. Cool. So yeah, let's crack on with the workshop. So what I like to do is, as I said, try and go and get a coffee with someone who I think is a frother. But it's super important, first and foremost, to identify the frothers in your life that are already within reach. So I call these anchor frothers. You probably had a few of them there last night. You might have met a few new ones who are going to become more your anchor frothers. So it's important to identify one anchor, at this stage, one anchor frother. So if you've got a pen and paper, if you've got your phone, go ahead and write down that anchor frother. Now I'm not going to just, actually I can just sit here and have tea, but I don't really want to keep recording. So maybe just pause right now, if you need to, or just put it down. Cool. Pause. Ta-da! And we're back. Number 2 is someone who you would consider a frother who is just outside your reach. So let's say, I call that a boundary frother. So your Bondi to Manly type frother, you know? They're just a bit too far away. Just kidding. Sarah's one of my anchors, so like, yeah, it doesn't matter if they're Bondi to Manly. But yeah, think about someone who you'd really fucking love to talk to, who's not that far away from you. Maybe they work at a company next door, or maybe it's even just someone you've been really stinging to talk to, and they're really only like one connection away. So that's the second thing. Ready? Pause. Tea break. I should have put on some more Billy Otto music for this, shouldn't I? Yeah. Oh man, I forgot to talk about Billy. Actually, I will in a sec. And number three is your universe frother. So this is someone like, completely, you don't feel like you could connect to them, but there's some way that potentially one day you will, and it can be anyone in the universe. They have to be alive though. Obviously, sorry, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm bringing out a podcast soon, which I trialed on LinkedIn, this whole concept of finding the frothers. So the alive versus accessing people who have passed on frothers is a concept. So, but don't worry about that. Sorry to confuse it. Bad workshop facilitating, Benny. Bad workshop facilitating. So yeah, you should have your 3. I'll pause now. Write down your universal frother. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So now you've got a list of 3. Have some more tea. It's delicious. Green. Happy Plastic Free July, first day as well. Yeah. So that's sick. We've got our 3. Now I'm just going to stop for a second because I want to talk about main man Billy Otto. So this terminology, and I talk about flow state a lot, and actually I will talk about flow state a bit later, but I was just hanging out with Billy. I met him for like probably 2 hours in a co-working space, and just like instant mates. Like you probably felt that the first time you met Sarah, because she just like, wow, holy shit, I want to hang out with this person more. And Billy just goes, Benny, come to my show. So I watched his band that he's in with his sister Sarah. So sick. Billy's playing on Sunday. This is a pretty good plug for Billy this Sunday. Erskineville. I'll be there. And after he left, I kind of walked out and I just had this sort of tingly feeling. I was like, fuck, like I feel really energized. And I just sort of, I guess, hacked into my flow state of writing and just, nothing else mattered, which we'll talk about a bit later. And then I was out surfing, and that's generally where I get into flow the easiest. And I was kind of at my mum's in Wamberal and just drifting out to sea. Just completely forgot about the waves. And I just went, fuck, there's something in like me being able to hack this kind of flow state based on the connections that I can have with these people in my life. This is amazing. This is what I should be doing on a day-to-day basis. And that's where I kind of took it on from. So it's kind of like a combination of hanging out with Billy, a couple of radio interviews I did with a bunch of frothers, just hanging out with Sarah and people like Sarah and the crew from New Kind and stuff, and all you guys last night. That just gives me the biggest buzz. So yeah, what I would have done if we were all hanging out is I would have got you to tell someone who is... No, actually I would have said pause and text message and set up a coffee with your anchor frother. Important. So you can do that if you want. And then I would have said, share your 3 frothers with someone, and you know what? Share it with whoever's in your house right now, or whenever you do this workshop. Go and share it, because it's one thing to think it, it's another thing to write it down, which you've just done, but it's another thing completely to go and actually speak it and tell someone that. Because then, in their head, they're always going to know, they might see your universal frother who's coming to Australia and boom, they might go, hey, you should check it out, you might be able to get in touch, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that's an important part of this workshop. So I can quickly share who mine are, and then I can jump back. I'm meant to jump back somewhere here as well, talk about some stuff. But so yeah, I've got this other theory. So you've got your 3. You got this. This is one theory. Sorry, not to confuse things. You got your 3. That just made it a bit easier. Now I've got this. This is work in progress. So if you guys, I'm starting a podcast this month, and it's going to be around finding frothers, connecting frothers, and this process. And we'll talk about the process. So I call this the 7 deadly frothers. I love the term deadly, the sort of indigenous, I guess the translation for me is, I would say, ripping. So 7 deadly, like fucking awesome frothers. And obviously that's got, 7 deadly frothers makes sense. Anyway, so how I define and get people to do this is with the 7 is putting 1 as the closest frother they have access to all the time. So maybe for Sarah it'd be Alice, because you guys live together and she's a frother. So for me it's my flatmate Dan. Then I've got 2 is Sarah. So these are 2 anchor frothers. Then your 3rd frother is your transition frother, which you might not have at the moment. So for me, at the moment, my transition frother is Grant from One Wave. If you guys haven't heard of One Wave, it's a mental health charity all around surfing, saltwater healing, and he's such a frother. And I've known him for 6 months, but he's kind of like, one day he could be a full-on anchor frother, but he's still just in that transition period because he's come from the 4 and 5. So where you put down number 2, those guys just outside your circle, that will be your 4, and then your 5 will be in that same bracket. So come up with another person there for 5. And then the idea, and then so your 6 and your 7 are your universal frothers, like, holy shit, these are the ones that you didn't think you could connect with. Okay. So if you want to have a pause, put down your 7 deadly frothers, that'd be sick. And I'll have some tea. Delicious. So if you've got your 7 deadly frothers, I can tell you a little anecdote about this. So I'll tell you my 7 frothers. Dan, Sarah, and we got Grant from One Wave, and then we got Glenn Carlson, who lives in Bondi. He's kind of a mentor I've met once, but I really want to hang out with that dude a bit more in terms of business. I threw in a wild one, actually, and I put Malcolm Turnbull, so I want to fucking talk to that guy. And I reckon he's got to be a frother. You can't not be a frother to get to Prime Minister, and I want to tell him about how I'm going to change the face of Australia's drinking culture, and he's either with me or he's not. So maybe he's not a frother, but he's in my periphery, and I'm gonna fucking talk to him somehow. And then my 6, wait for it, is Jamie Wheel, who's the author of Stealing Fire. Now he's not really a 6 anymore, and I'll tell you in a moment why. And then number 7 is Tim Ferriss, because basically I built my business, 101 Tokens, is off the back of the shit I learned from Tim Ferriss. So it makes sense that I try and connect with him. And obviously a lot of these ones are business related and stuff. They're like friends crossed with business, crossed with like my interests, like flow state. They can be anything. Frothers don't have to be famous, like fuck. Or, you know, like your anchor frothers might be your dad or your mum. My favourite one, actually, when I did this workshop was Gareth, who lives in Bondi. He's a legend. He's a coach, performance coach, and he said his kids are one of his anchors. And I was like, fuck, that's beautiful. And that makes so much sense. He goes, man, I get so much energy from my kids. And I was like, that is, I'm really heating up here. That is one of the best anchor frothers I've ever heard in my life. So big ups to that one. So chuck your kids in there if they are. But anyway, so I won't waffle on too much about this, but I went to a festival with Dr. Bacchioni, who was there last night, and Sarah. We were giving a workshop, and it was actually Irfan's festival called New Kind in Tasmania. And when we went, it was the best 5 days at a festival I've ever had in my life. I came away beaming, like ridiculously beaming. If you haven't heard of it, it's no drugs, no alcohol. It's cruelty-free, so yeah, vegan, solar-powered, and curated 400 legends talking about everything from like future of architecture, reconnecting with nature, you know, veganism, everything, like, holy shit, like neo-tribalism. The reason I'm sitting here with a book and I just deliver workshops like this now without a fucking keynote is because there was a dude named Joe talking about neo-tribalism, and his presence while holding his book and, you know, addressing the crowd and just being an absolute frother inspired me to try and do that as well. And so off the back of New Kind, I was reading this book by Jamie Wheel, Number 6 Frother, one of the universal ones I probably wouldn't be able to connect with. And it says in it, and he's talking about festivals and community, basically, like when you're with the community, sync up, just like last night, we're all just like frothing out together. And then when you leave, it's not necessarily a come down. If you do it in the right way, because you've all accessed flow, you can continue to access that flow after you've left that community. So I had like this 2 to 3 week like buzz from New Kind, like amazing buzz. People were like, Benny, what's up with you? You're fucking extra frothing at the moment. And I just was like, basically it felt like things were coming off. I was just seeking out new opportunities and people wanted to work with me, and it was rad as fuck. And basically I was reading this book, and it talks about this 2 to 4 week hang up, maybe that's the word. Anyway, rip over, whatever we want to call it, change the lexicon. And essentially, these people got this extra kick, and that's like part of the main reason they go to Burning Man. I haven't been, I know a bunch of you guys have. They got this kick, so all these like massive Google executives and all these people from Congress and everywhere, NASA, they go so they can get this peak performance extended. And I had that, and that just sort of like made it clear as to what it was and why I was feeling this way. And I applied, and I was like, what's my next adventure? So my friend came to me with this festival called Baby Bathwater. I applied to it, got on a Skype with the founder, talked to him for about an hour, spoke about how, like, frothing. I spoke to him about 101 tokens, about vice optimization, which is my thing, and I talked to him about flow state and how I'd come to this festival, and he was buzzing, I was like frothing. But I said to him before I got off the phone, I was like, I only come to these things if I can do workshops. And he goes, oh, we're pretty full, man. And I was like, oh, can I pitch you? So I pitched him on vice optimization, which is basically 101 tokens, mindful drinking, but applied to all of our vices. And he loved it. And then at the end of the conversation, I was like, oh man, I'm reading this book called Stealing Fire. And he was like, Jamie fucking Wheel is the first talker at this conference, and he will be there for the 5 days. Everyone who goes to this conference is there for the 5 days. Everyone is equal. There is no, like, you're a speaker, you're backstage, whatever. Everyone's hanging and chilling. So my number 6 somehow has dropped down into probably more of a 3 or more of a 4. He's not quite into the 3, but I got to hang out with him and have beers and talk about this shit. And like, we were talking about finding the frothers and stuff, and he started going on about how heartbeats sync when we're together with community, especially when there's music like Billy Otto, because it's dreaming. So yeah, that is a practical application of this, and I would love to see you guys with your 7 deadly frothers absolutely ripping it up and approaching people. I've got some tactics as well for like how you can get email addresses and stuff. So I guess like the thing, and I talked to Jamie, because he talks about flow state, right? And so I was talking about froth state, which leads you to flow state. It's a gateway. So the number one thing you can do to get into froth state is hang out directly with your anchor frothers. So getting a coffee or finding new frothers. Obviously, that's what we're trying to do within just outside the reach. Those fours and fives, sorry. So hanging out with them, get a coffee. That would be like the best thing you can do. If you can't, get on the phone, jump on a Skype. If you want me to be a frother, give me a buzz. Like, I'm down for a Skype or a coffee hang. And make sure you let them know that they're a frother as well. So that's a key point, because when you tell someone they're a frother, they're stoked. And then that replenishes their froth levels for the day. Because they're like, fuck, I'm making a difference in this person's life. So whether you call them a high on life legend or a fuck giver or whatever, just let them know. Just make sure you let people know how fucking much they mean to you and how much froth and energy they provide to you. Because that's a key element. The other thing is, with your 6s and 7s, you're probably accessing them at the moment via podcasts and things like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to always do face-to-face. Like, I find if I haven't got time to go for coffee, or if I'm like trying to get shit done a bit quicker and whatever, I'll just put on a podcast with the frothers. And the great thing about festival that I went to, like, a bunch of them have podcasts as well. Like, Sarah's on a bunch, so if I can't get hold of Sarah, I can always listen to her on a podcast. Sick. That goes for a lot of you guys, because you're all doing absolutely radical shit, and I'm sure I can look you up and look at YouTube clips and stuff. And so, yeah, there's so many different ways that you can access the frothers. But the number one is human connection. As we know, we spend way too much time on our robots and doing all the shit online that matters but doesn't really. So try and get a coffee. Try and get a froth. That's my washing machine going nuts. Tranquilo washing machine. Try and get a froth. So either a coffee or a beer if you can. And really connect. So that's sick. So, yeah, that's basically it. The practicalities of that is like, go to your 1 and 2, line up a coffee or a chat for this week coming, because we're a new week, new month. Your 3's kind of like, you know, they're there now. They're kind of in transition froth state, so you've got pretty good access to them. But continue to, like, you know, add value to that conversation. So I was listening to a podcast the other day, funnily enough, and it was all about the third door. This guy was talking about this kid, he's like 25 or something, who just bloody accessed like every person that he wanted to, just by being super genuine and making sure that whenever he approached someone, he came at them with such a great offering that they couldn't help but do what he wanted. I haven't read the book yet, but I've just heard a podcast about the book, so might be one to check out. But I think that's crucial with approaching anyone, is you need to have such an epic story. And what I say to, especially with the students that I do this for, it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like you're going after a business person because you've got a startup and they've got a startup, and we both love startups and whatever. No, they probably don't give as much of a fuck because they're getting hit up about that all the time. Check out their Instagram. Check out maybe what they're writing about on LinkedIn that doesn't exactly have to do with, or Facebook, exactly have to do with what they do, and approach them with something where you've got a mutual froth thing. Because even when you're having a conversation, when you go and meet up with the frothers, a lot of the time it doesn't matter what the topic is. But I do say to people who are nervous about meeting new people and stuff, if you can find something that resonates, awesome. But if you can't, just ask them about what they think about the future of the world. Because most people, even if they've got some kind of negative about it, there's always a positive somewhere in there. And talking about the future of the world, you can always find something where you connect with that person. And then that'll always give you something to reconnect with them on, because the world's changing so fast. So that's a froth tip 101. And then with your 5s, with your 6s and 7s, yeah, follow, comment, and just be more around them, I guess. LinkedIn's such an easy one to hack. Like, if you want to hit me up on Facebook, Benny Wallington, LinkedIn, Benny Wallington. Don't get weirded out by some of my content on there. And yeah, ask me and I can send you through a bunch of stuff about how to get people's contacts on LinkedIn so you can direct message them without actually needing to know their email address. And yeah, basically everyone's approachable, and it just takes a bit of froth to get you there. So yeah, that's pretty much my workshop. Hey, I condensed it a bit because I don't want to take up too much time. But yeah, massive love to Sarah. She is like my motivation for doing most of the stuff that I do, like in terms of connecting and being a better human, is thanks to her and FuckGiving. And thanks a lot, my dear. And this is fucking the next chapter. We've got a whole nother half year of 2018 to find more Frothers. As I said, I'm starting a podcast. It's called Finding the Frothers. It's got a bit more of a strategy to this, but what I want to do is basically bring the Frothers in, interview them, ask them who they froth on, how they access froth state, flow state, and then connect them up with the community, the wider community of Frothers. And an idea I have for this is my mate Robbo, Brett Robbo, he's got an actual ripping podcast as well, and Sarah knows him too. He gives a gift at the end of every podcast, and I thought my gift could be that I shout my host and then someone within my network a froth, so either a coffee or a beer, and then they go off and connect. Because, I wish I could pause. Just, I've got to show you this one thing, and then that's it. I swear, that's it. That's the end of the workshop. I swear. Yeah. But you've got all the tools. Maybe you'll drop out, but this is like this is finding the Frothers. This is what it's all about. This is Sparta. Come on. It is, if you guys know, that is really disappointing. I had this audio that my mate sent me, and essentially I'd connected him, Brett Robbo, with Rebecca Vexler, and she does soul cups, and it is this fucking awesome. Here, listen.
You're a fucking legend for many reasons, but I just finished recording a podcast with Rebecca Vexler, and fuck, what a genuinely authentic, connected human soul. I fucking loved that chat with her and everything that Soul Cups stands for and everything that she stands for. I just feel like I'm resonating at the same level and we'll be connecting more often. So, mate, I just wanted to say a massive gratitude-filled thank you to you for connecting us. That's fucking brilliant. So thanks, legend. Also, we need to lock in when I'm coming on to talk gut health with your abundantly awesome community. Hope you're well, bud. Hear from you soon, and thanks again. Actually, tack så jävla mycket. That's Swedish for thank you so fucking much.
That's frothing. That's what happens when you connect two frothers. Froth state, flow, love, fuck giving. Can't wait to connect with you all again. Peace out. Happy birthday, Sarah. Woo!